Hola, hola, amigas. Welcome to another episode of Modern Latina in Midlife. Happy spring. Again, I haven't been on here for a couple of weeks, but there's been this concept that's been coming up. I've been traveling, but there's been this concept that's been coming up that's becoming clearer and clearer to me. And it is what I'm talking about today. It's about the energy of money, but in particular, specifically, it's this concept that when we say yes to ourselves, the how of how it's going to be paid for, the money shows up. So the how is in the yes. And I'll explain to you in this episode what I mean by that. I'll provide you with some examples and how I came to learn this. But before I get started, I do want to let you know that although I am not taking on any new clients for a 90-day coaching program or a 6-week coaching program as I usually do, I am doing individual one-on-one sessions. So if you're interested on working on something in particular, whether you're stuck or you need clarity, I invite you to book a session with me. For those of you who are new around here, don't know me, I am a coach. I help women in midlife peel back the layers that have been placed on them over the years in their lifetime that are keeping them stuck. I help you get unstuck, I help you gain clarity, and I help you find the authenticity that is hidden behind all those layers of roles and expectations and all these society expectations and these roles of the mother and daughter and all these things that have been placed on you over the years that are keeping your light dimmed underneath. And so we peel back the layers to help you bring that spark back to life so that you can live your midlife with intention and with purpose. So if you're feeling stuck, if you think you need clarity, if you're finding yourself like you're an empty nester and you don't even know who you are anymore because you've been living this life taking care of everybody else except for yourself, if you find that you just need clarity, whether it's in life or in business or in career, or want to start something new and just need a nudge, or you just need accountability. I invite you to book a one-on-one session with me at my website, sonia-flores.com. There's also a complimentary call on there if you want to experience what my style is. I provide life coaching techniques, as well as energetic healing. And also I tap into your spirit guides if this is something that you need their help with as well. So I use a combination of techniques that I've learned through the years that creates this very special and really quick transformation. This is also really great for overcoming limiting beliefs as well. So I invite you to take a look at my services at sonia-flores.com. You're welcome to email me, sonia@sonia-flores.com, or DM me at Modern Latina in Midlife. And let's talk about what this could look like for you. Schedule a complimentary clarity call, and let's talk about what it is that you are working on, and if you and I are a good fit. And again, I'm taking on just one-on-one sessions. I'm not doing the full 90-day program or 6-week program right now. So you don't have to make this big commitment. You can kind of just schedule a one session and see what that's like, and then we can move forward from there. All right, so getting back to what I'm talking about. So what I started discovering when I was taking my flight back, I just returned from Oaxaca a couple of days ago. I was there for a week with my sister and my mom. And it was really a beautiful, beautiful trip. And as I was getting ready to take that flight back, I started to think about how I manifested this trip. And the way that it happened um, it was very serendipitous. Actually, even before I get into that example, let me take it even further back. I'm going to share with you an example of a time when I said yes to something that I didn't quite have the money to pay for yet, but then it came through. And where this is coming from is this idea that when we have a desire within us to do something, to acquire something, but I like to apply it especially to when we want to hire a coach, participate in a program, spend money on a mastermind, a coaching program, a education, training, things like that. When we have a true desire within us, the money will show up, but we need to say yes to that first. And I know it seems counterintuitive, but I've experienced it myself, especially within the last 12 months, over and over and over again. And I've seen this happen with other people as well. And so what so I started kind of seeing these patterns, and this has all happened within like the last week that I started to kind of put these patterns together. And so I thought I have to share this on the podcast. And literally, I'm sitting here in my sweaty hiking clothes because I just got back from a 7-mile hike with my girlfriends because we were celebrating my birthday still. It's still March, my birthday month, even though my birthday was on March 4th. I've been traveling, so we hadn't had time to get together before. So we just got back. We went and had lunch afterwards in Pasadena, and I just got back. And as I was driving back, I was like, man, I need to record this episode. When am I going to do it? I'm all sweaty. I'm all yucky, blah, 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 because I also record this on YouTube and I don't want people to look at me in this way. I want to show up my best and professionally. And I thought, you know what? The message is here now. I need to record this and I need to release this today. So here I am. My spirit guides told me, go sit in front of that camera, go sit in front of that mic and turn it on. So here I am. I don't even have a script in front of me today, as I usually do. So here we go. I'm sharing this with you because it's here and it's fresh and I just really can't wait to share this with you. And so one thing that I'm starting to realize is that the universe not only wants us to act on our true desires, those desires that come from the core, those desires of those things that we really, really want to do in life, because it also benefits other people. So, for example, if I invest in my coaching programs like I did last year, when I invest in those, I'm helping a multitude of people. Number one, I'm helping the person that's running that program. I'm helping them in growing their business, number one. But I'm also developing skills and becoming a better, I don't want to call it a better version of myself, but a higher version of myself, a more skilled, more trained version of myself, where then I can take those skills and help others in their own transformation, and then helping them live a more intentional life, find their purpose, get unstuck, release um, limiting beliefs, heal past childhood wounds, healed past money wounds, healed generational trauma. All this, all these skills that I have developed over life, they're just sitting here in my fingertips, just ready to like just be delivered to somebody now that I've gone through this program. And I feel like I can help so many people and create such a ripple effect. The universe wants us to do this. The universe needs it, not only wants us to, but we really owe it to the universe, to our community, to invest in ourselves in such a way that then we are able to help the rest, help others around us. We're able to show up in a much healthier, more healed version of ourselves so that the people around us, our families and our friends, also get inspired, also are able to be helped, also are able to refer people to us because we are able now to help them heal and grow and create transformation. And then in them doing that, they affect also the people around them. It's this ripple effect. So not only does the universe want us to act on those desires of investing in ourselves in a positive way, we actually owe it to ourselves and to the universe and to the people around us, the people that are waiting for us to say yes to ourselves so that we can touch their lives. Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that just beautiful? And let me share how I came to this conclusion. I didn't come to this conclusion completely on my own. I heard it literally within the last 24 hours as I was listening to a recording of a master class that I had access to. And I just thought, oh my gosh, this is exactly what I've been thinking about these last few days, of this energy of money. When we say yes to ourselves and investing in ourselves, to hire the coach, to take the program, to participate in the mastermind, to book sessions, with the coach that are going to help us elevate ourselves and heal. When we say yes to those things, even when we don't think we have the money for it, the money shows up. And I'm going to share with you examples, a few personal examples, and also an example of a friend that did this for herself. So years back, I'm talking about, excuse me, probably 2002, 2004, somewhere around there. I was married at the time. My children were little. And we had a home. We had a house. We owned a house. And it was a smaller home. And we had bought that when we only had one child. And so at this point, we had two children, and we decided we wanted a bigger home. And I was at the time in charge of our finances. My husband at the time I was married, he didn't want anything to do with the finances. He's like, why don't you take care of it all? And me being the control freak that I was at the time, gladly obliged. And so I was in charge of the finances. I paid all our bills, and kind of kept him abreast of where we're at, where things are at financially, yada, yada, yada. He's like, hey, do you think we can do this? Absolutely. Absolutely, we can do this. We were in a much better place financially, both in our careers. So I'm like, we can totally do this. And so let's look into it. Let's do it. So we put our house on the market and we started looking for a new home. And we found the home that we absolutely loved. And I knew how much we can get for our house. I had a really good idea. And so we knew what the house, that we liked what they were asking for. So we kind of ran the numbers. And, that monthly payment came back, showing really high. And we were going to take some of the money that we were making on the sale of our home, which was actually pretty significant. We had made quite a bit of money on this house. We wanted to put half of it down as a down payment, not the entire thing. And the payment still came back a little high. And if we had put the whole thing down, it probably would have been a lot more comfortable. But we wanted to keep some of that money for improvements, for remodeling, the kitchen and all this stuff, right? And so we ran the numbers, and I ran the numbers, and I looked at him. I'm like, oof. He's like, hey, can we make that payment? That looks really high. It was almost double what we were paying our mortgage previously. And I was like, yeah, we can do it. He's like, really? I'm like, yeah. So great, let's move forward with it. The truth was that we were not bringing in enough money to make that payment. We were short. We were close, but we weren't there. Even with some of the things that we were planning to kind of move around and cut back on and things, we knew things would be a little bit tight the first couple years, until we were in a better place again financially within our careers, and how that goes, right? So I knew we were not bringing enough money to make that payment, but something inside said, do it. It's going to be fine. Number one, we also had a cushion, right? Like we did have some savings. I knew that we had that, but it wasn't going to sustain us long term. Like, I mean, I couldn't just keep tapping into the savings to make our, monthly expenses. I knew that. But I knew that we had a little bit of cushion for a couple months. I mean, longer probably, but I didn't want to tap into that for more than just a couple months. But something inside me said, it's going to be fine. Do it. Say yes. So we said yes. Within, I'm going to say probably 30 to 60 days of this going into escrow and all that, I got a promotion at work with a salary increase. And this salary increase more than covered the difference of where we were short and then some. So I shared with my husband at the time, hey, guess what? I got a promotion. I got the salary increase. He's like, yay, that's so great. I said, yeah, it's a really good thing because now we can really make the payment, the mortgage payment. He's like, what? I said, yeah, I know. And we have some extra left over too. He's like, oh my gosh, I can't even believe that you told me we were fine when you knew we weren't. I said, I just knew we were going to be fine. I just knew. I don't know how. I just knew that the money was going to show up, and it did. And it was fine. And so at that point, I just always knew in the back of my mind, I always had this concept of, because this is actually a money story that my dad did share with me, is he would say God always takes care of us. We're always fine. We always have, you know, food on the table. We're always taken care of. Like God always takes care of us. When it comes to money financially, he always gives us what we need to 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 eat and to live, as long as obviously we're doing the things that we need to do, right? Like as long as we're being good people and taking action as well, not just sitting on the couch waiting for money to land, but like as long as we're taking action, that money's going to show up to so that we can do the things that we need to sustain ourselves. That is something that my dad always did tell me, and so I just always knew that when I was in a jam, always I'd be like, okay, that's fine. It's fine. Like we're gonna have money to eat, especially in the beginning when we're just like right out of college and just trying to make ends meet. And I always would remember it's fine. God always provides. But I used that concept to get this house. And I was like, it's fine. It's fine. We're gonna be taken care of. And we were. And I just thought to myself later, wow, how did I know this? Like, what made me think that the money was going to show up? I didn't know how. I really did not know how, but I just had this faith that it's going to be fine. And it was. So that was the first time that I was like, wow, like God really delivered. Like, I better not push those limits again because, next time he may go, girl, maybe not. But that is not true. It still continues to be a thing. It still continues to show up that when we say yes to ourselves, the money shows up. So another example is just this trip that I took. Actually, before I share that example, I want to share an example of a friend who also wanted to invest in herself. So she has this podcast, this meditation podcast, and she does it in English and in Spanish. And she was doing it for families, these meditations for family, and there were short meditations for families. She was doing it in English and in Spanish, and then specifically for small children too. And she had this really big interest in, or has this really big interest in introducing young kids at a young age to meditation to help them regulate themselves, regulate their emotions, and help them just create this mindfulness from a very young age, which I think is just absolutely beautiful. So she learned about the Deepak Chopra meditation certification, and she thought, oh my gosh, I really want to do this. And she was so excited, and she's like, oh, she just had this really strong desire to do it and to participate in it. And she said, you know what? I don't have the money for it, but I'm just going to do it. And I don't know how. I'm going to pay for it, but something will happen. I'll figure it out. She signs up, and I don't know if in the you fill out an intake or application or what to get into this program, but she was accepted into the program. So she was in. She was in. And this program, if you're familiar with the Deepak Chopra meditation certification, it's in the five figures. Let me see. 1, 2, 3. Yes. Yep. Yep. It's in the five figures. It's in the, is it five? Yep. It's in the five figures. Sorry. And she's like, I don't have the money to do this, but she signed up, like I said, and she had shared that what her goal was and why she wanted to do this. And she shared that she wanted to expand, her knowledge and her ability because she has this podcast that she shares. And also, she wanted to be able to teach in person and lead meditations in person and, to get children started at a young age. And she shared that passion. Well, would you believe that she got a phone call from the Deepak Chopra organization letting her know that they were absolutely loved her mission and her passion, and therefore they were granting her a scholarship, a full paid scholarship for this meditation certification. Boom, it happened. Before the program even started, it was paid for. So the money showed up when she said yes to herself. So that was a really great example, something that just really stuck with me that I've always remembered because it was like, wow, like, how did she do that? And it's just kind of stayed in the back of my head. I just always remember, I'm like, oh my gosh, how lucky of her. And so I started really kind of thinking about this in this trip that I just took to Oaxaca. I was at a point, my sister told me she was taking this trip and invited me to take this trip with her, invited my mom. My mom immediately said yes. They bought their airline ticket and they had invited me. And of course, I wanted to go. It's been on my bucket list for years. And she, I had just returned from Costa Rica in December. It was early January, and I needed to make a decision as to whether I was going to go or not because she needed to find an Airbnb. And I was like, man, I really want to go, but I just got back from Costa Rica. There were some expenses there. And I had slow months in November and December in my business. I'm like, when I would think about like the grand scheme of like what I thought I was going to need to spend on this trip, I was like, I just don't really have the money for it right now. I have some other obligations, some other priorities where where I want to put my money. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I just really did some work around that. I decided, first of all, to write my intentions and manifestations that I wanted to create this year. And I put the Oaxaca trip on there, but then I even broke it down. I broke it down and I said, I want to find a flight for $300 or less. I want to have my stay be in Oaxaca be free. And I'd like to manifest the spending money for Oaxaca. And I don't know that I put a dollar amount on that, but I said I want to manifest the spending money. And so I left it at that. And then I thought, oh, okay, I need to make a decision. And so I decided to like meditate on it. And I sat down to meditate. And I'm like, okay, should I or should I not take this trip? And I called in my spirit guides and like, help me make this decision. And they're like talking me through it. I'm like, well, do you really want to take this trip? Do you really want to? I'm like, yeah, Oaxaca's always been on my list. I can always go some other time. But the thing is, my mom was going, my sister was going. Like, how amazing to be able to take this trip with them, and I'm in this place where, okay, I don't have my father anymore. He's already passed on. And, my mom is getting older. She's in great shape. She's 76 years old. She's in great shape. She's very healthy, very lively. Like, how amazing to be able to take a trip like this with her when she's still at her best, when she's still so good and healthy and can take a trip and, do the things and travel easily. You never know, right? What our fate is in a week or month or a year from now. And I'm like, okay, you know what? Yeah, I really do want to take this trip. Like my core and my insides, I just felt this, yes, like, yes, I want to take this trip. So I said yes to it. I said, yes. I told my sister, I'm going, I'm going. And I said to myself in that moment, yep, I'm going. I want this and I'm going to do it. I don't know how I'm going to pay for it, but I'm going to do it. So I told my sister and I started keeping an eye on flights every day. All right, what day is the day in which tickets are the cheapest? Blah, 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 blah. Went through the whole thing, set up Google alerts, all that. And I finally found this flight. And they were around the same price throughout the week. They fluctuated a little bit here and there. But I finally said, you know what? I just need to do this. They never got under $300, but I did end up booking my flight for around 320, which was pretty close to what I wanted to pay. And I thought, okay, great. Put it on my credit card. I'm like, okay, but the rest of it, I said, I've gotta it cannot just go on my credit card. Like, I gotta figure this out. Something will happen. It'll be fine. And so this was early January. And then, and so we take the trip. We take the trip. I just returned. We're there for a week. And as I was waiting for my flight, waiting to board my flight to come back, I started thinking about like, wow, I took the trip and it worked out. The money showed up. So my birthday was March 4th. The trip was March 5th, 14th or 15th, we flew out. So on March 4th, for my birthday, I received cash from several sources, from a client, from my mother, and from my boyfriend. My boyfriend took me to Vegas the weekend of my birthday, and I don't gamble, but he likes to play. And so on the last night we were there, he's like, hey, let's go play some slot machines just for a little bit. I'm just going to spend this much money and that's it. I'm like, cool. So we go sit at the slot machine. He's like, I'm going to bet on your birthday number, which was 4. So he goes several rounds. And finally, he's like, this is the last one. He hits it and he wins. So he wins some cash and he's like, I won on your birthday number. So some of this cash is yours. Here you go. I'm like, cool. Thanks. Yay, me. And so then once we get home, I realized, wait a minute. Okay. So my client gave me this money. My mom gave me this money. My boyfriend gave me this money. Let me find out how much the Airbnb is going to be. I didn't even know how much it was going to be at this point, but I knew my sister had booked it. And so I text her, I'm like, hey, how much is my share of the Airbnb? So she gives me my total, and it's literally $20 shy of the cash that I had received for my birthday. So I immediately Zelle her the money, and I'm like, holy shit, I just got my stay in Oaxaca for free. I mean, yeah, I paid for it with cash that just landed on me, So I'm like, wow, all right, that worked. And so the other thing that happened, so I got my flight for around $300. I manifested this day for free because I received the cash for it. And also in February, I started working in a new role with a new client. And uh this has allowed me to increase my income significantly this year. And so in doing that, I had plenty of spending money to spend in Oaxaca because that first check, if you will, was deposited mid-March. So literally as I'm flying out, I'm like, oh, all the money I want to spend is there. So all of those things came through. And I truly believe that it's because I said yes, because I truly wanted it in my core. This was a desire that I have. Those desires that we have are there for a reason. Everything happens for a reason. And I know it sounds cliche, but it is true. There is a reason we have these desires because we need to keep growing. And also, the money will show up because that money needs to continue flowing. The money needs to continue flowing through our communities, through our life. We need to keep that money flowing because it keeps us all growing. And there is no limit to money. There's no limit to money. It's kind of like breathing air. If I take a breath, it's not going to prevent you from breathing. We're going to have enough breath for everybody. It's the same with money. So I I I was kind of in awe as I was um, analyzing all this and coming to the realization of all this. And then what happened is that yesterday, or the day before, I was listening to this recording in this mastermind, and I heard this concept of the how, when we're talking about money, the how of how the money will show up is in saying yes to the thing that we want. And I thought, that is so true. That is so true. So I started to kind of think about, okay, what have I done in the last year? Last year, I invested in myself more than I ever had before, aside from college. Like I paid for my own college, and that was a pretty big investment for me. But I knew that in investing in myself in that way, that there would be a return on my investment. And there has been. So when I made this decision to invest in coaching last year, I thought, I'm investing in myself. Like, why was it so easy for me to spend that kind of money on college? It was a lot more than this, knowing that I would develop skills to then earn more. I knew that. I knew it without a doubt. I knew. I went in, I gave my money, and I knew that money was going to come back and that it was going to come back forever, right? Like it wasn't like double, it wasn't like triple, it was not even tenfold, it was like way more than that. Like it's going to deliver for the rest of my life because I now have those skills that nobody can take away from me. I now have that degree that nobody can take from me. And I can use that to create income. So I thought, so why is it so hard for me to say yes then to investing in myself in the form of coaching or program or retreats or healing, all these things that I love to do and I love to learn, but I constantly say no to them because the money. So last year I decided, you know what? I'm going to invest in myself. I didn't only just take one coaching program I invested in two coaching programs back to back. And these were pretty high numbers for me because I had never spent this kind of money or invested this kind of money on myself aside from college. And I'm like, of course I'm going to get this money back. Of course it's an investment. It's going to have a return on my investment some way or another. And the idea was that it was going to come back to me in coaching clients, right? I was learning to be a coach. The first program I took was a coaching program to learn to become a coach. Before that program was even over, I had signed on 2 coaching clients. So that money came back to me. The money I invested in the program came back to me almost before the program was over. So that money came back. And then I decided to invest in another program. The second program was to develop my intuitive abilities, my psychic abilities, and so that I can use that also as part of my coaching program, because that's what kind of started coming up in my coaching sessions, is that I knew that I have these intuitive abilities, these psychic abilities, but I wanted to develop them and know how to access them more easily instead of just kind of waiting for that message to just drop in. So I did that coaching program. That was another 12 weeks. And that money, all right, so let me back up. On Friday, I sat down to do all my taxes, to run all my numbers and get ready for my tax appointment. And when I was done creating it all, I just kind of ran some numbers of where things are at for this year and blah, 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 and went through all that. And, I was in the numbers game right there, for a couple hours. And I realized I increased my income this year by 5 times what the investment in those coaching programs was. So that money didn't double, didn't triple, it 5 times itself. So the money that I invested in total in those coaching programs, I have increased my income this year by 5 times that amount. So whether I am directly using those skills, which I am, but the way that I think about it is these opportunities that have come to me in the last couple of months, and I shared about this in previous episodes. It was in a manifestation episode about, I think it was in February. I'll link it in the show notes. But because I went through these programs, my energy changed. I invested in myself. I invested in my growth. I've acquired skills in coaching. I've acquired skills in my psychic abilities and my intuitive abilities. I have this newfound confidence and passion for helping people create transformation, find their authenticity, find their purpose, get unstuck, heal their wounds, heal childhood wounds, do energy healings. I mean, I have so many skills at my arsenal that I just want to share and help people with. And I was able to really embrace that and come to terms with that and feel confident in that and feel empowered in that as a result of going through these programs. So even if I don't have all the coaching clients, the one-on-one coaching clients that I thought I was going to have as a result of this, I am in a role where I am working side by side with this amazing woman that has been a coach for 30 years, that is running a coaching program to teach others her skills and her method, which is interesting, are methods and skills that I have learned through the years of watching her and listening to her and consuming her information on her podcast. I've also worked with her before in a much different role, but I learned some of these skills from her. I've attended her intensives and her workshops in the past, several of them, I think like 3 or 4 of them. And so I've learned some of these skills. And so when I started getting my coaches, my one-on-one coaching clients, it was inevitable for me to utilize these skills that I had learned years back through her. And so now I'm working side by side with her, helping her run this coaching program with close to 30 coaching students right now that are going through this program. And it's just amazing to me that because of the energetic shift and the transformation that I went through by taking these programs last year, I put myself in such a place that I attracted this amazing opportunity where I'm not necessarily coaching one-on-one, but I'm still in this amazing field of life coaching, of helping others create transformation by working directly in this coaching program. And so I know that by investing in myself, I created this opportunity. And that is what I want to communicate to you today. That is what I'm trying to share with you today, is that the how is in the saying yes. So if you're feeling that nudge to invest in yourself, to hire a coach, whether it's one-on-one sessions or it's in a full program, whether you want to participate in a mastermind, invest in a mastermind, whether you want to invest in a trainer, whether you want to invest in healing, whether you want to invest in retreats, in things, those activities that you know are going to help you enrich yourself, acquire skills, acquire techniques, meet people, like-minded people that have the same types of interests that you do. If you feel it in your body, in your core, that this is a desire that you have, the how of how you're going to pay for it is going to show up after you say yes to it. After you say, I am in. After you take the steps to register for it. Trust me. And this was proven to me not only by my own experiences and friends' experiences, but when I listened to that recording of that mastermind, it was around the energy of money, and it was like 4, almost 5 hours long. And I'm just sharing a very small snippet and lesson that clicked with me because of all this analyzing I've been doing the last few days, is that the how is in the yes. So I'm leaving you with that today. The how the money's going to show up is in saying yes to yourself. Bet on yourself. You will have a return on your investment. Thank you so much for being here. Share this episode with a friend. Share this episode with your amigas. Send it to your comadres, your primas, your friends. We need to know this. As women, we need to be empowered to know this information, to know that it is not selfish to invest in ourselves. In fact, it is selfish not to invest in ourselves. The people around us need us to invest in ourselves. There are people out there waiting for us to share our message, to share our medicine, to share our healing abilities. You have it in you. You know that there is something you want to do, that you want to invest in yourself. Do it. You will see a return on your investment. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for listening. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Please DM me at Modern Latina in Midlife, or sign up for my newsletter, because I send out the episode every week. When I share it, I send out a little reminder that there's a new episode. Feel free to respond to that email and tell me your thoughts about this episode. I'd love to hear what you think, and I'd want to hear how you're investing in yourself. I want to see the results of what is going to transpire once you invest in yourself within a year. Let's see where you're at in a year. Think about the difference that a year can make if you say yes to yourself. Thank you so much for being here. Hasta la próxima.